Welcome all to Alchemy Within from Out Amongst the Stars. Thank you all for being here. We are back. I have Gail Ward with me here today with Relax and Shine. And we're going to look at our Scorpio new moon that's coming up here on November 1st. And Gail is going to pull us some oracle cards. So welcome, Gail. It's been a little while. We've been on a little hiatus.
Hi, Diana. It's great to be back with you. And yeah, thanks for the invitation. I'm so excited. We're in Scorpio season, and yeah, it's my favorite time of year. So I'm really interested to see what you've got coming up for us this particular new moon. And I thought I would actually use the Goddess Guidance cards for our Oracle pull today. And I believe that we're going to go around the houses as we've done in previous recordings. So I'm looking forward to hearing what's happening for us. So fire away when you're ready.
Okay, that sounds great. Yeah, it's been kind of a wild ride, and we we had the eclipses, of course, way back in April in Aries, and then we recently had another set of eclipses, and so the ones back in April, of course, were Mars rules Aries, so that was ruled by the Mars, and so is this new moon in Scorpio. Although our last set of eclipses was in Libra, it was with the South Node, and that was October 2nd. But I am going to refer everyone. I'll to do a video on what Mars kind of did throughout the whole spring and then into summer. We had that Mars Uranus conjunction, and I think that really brought a bunch of change in the mid-July, and there was so much activity happening that I was just taking notes and doing research and trying to observe what was happening. And so and I also had some other work going on, and it was just a really busy time, and we're allowing the change to happen. But this last eclipse that we had in Libra, that was would be Venus ruled. Of course, it was an annular eclipse that had the South Node involved at 10 degrees, and I just know that it really has affected a lot of people in relationships and deciding who is going to be in your relationship, whether it be in a romantic one or with business partners, or women in your life, or people that you're good friends, and I think there's just been a lot of choices to be made there, and a lot of shifts happening. So with that's focused a lot on other, right? So now, as we went into our full moon in Aries, again, that's Mars ruled. That was on October 17th at 24 degrees. It was a chance for us to really look at, like, that's where the North Node is right now, and really more self-oriented, and look at what it was that we wanted to catalyze into some sort of transformation. And it really illuminated those houses again of Aries Libra axis, where our nodes are. But our nodes are shifting, so we will be into next year shifting into that Pisces Virgo axis with the nodes of the moon. We now, like, what's really in the forefront right now is Pluto being at that 29 anaretic degree of Capricorn, and the Mars opposing that. So we have that really strong dynamic, which is the malefics, essentially, right? And it's really playing a role in our lives right now, and whatever houses those are for you, as Pluto will make its complete total shift into Aquarius for the next 20 years until 2044. With the Mars on the other side of that that actual opposition is going to be on November 3rd. So a couple of days after this new moon that we're going to really dive into here shortly. It's affected by a couple of different things, and actually while we're recording this, we have the Mars in Cancer, and Mars is going to go retrograde, right? So we're in Cancer right now, and it will shift next week into Leo, and it will then go back into Cancer. So we're kind of in this, we're in the shadow, and then we'll have the Mars retrograde in the winter, and then we'll be coming out of the shadow. So we'll be in these energies of Mars and Cancer where it's not really totally comfortable, but it really wants us to look at what we're feeling with how we're taking our action. And we have a really nice trine to Neptune, which makes it kind of dreamy. That's in this leading up to this new moon, and also though at the same time in the same day square to Saturn, which brings in like a lots of feelings of restraints or boundaries or restrictions or limitations, but what we do will be for the long term. So there's potential here with us looking at our Mars is trine Neptune, but it's Venus in Sagittarius that's square to Saturn. That's affecting this new moon in Scorpio. And of course, Venus is our planet of love and pleasure and joy and relationships as well, right? So we're looking at what we really desire for this next 6 months, and what it is that we can make incremental steps to that is for the long term. So if we're running into obstacles, or you're running into issues emotionally with whatever choices that you're trying to make, and you're trying to set boundaries with certain people, or there's been those eclipsed relationships that are happening and you're not sure how to deal with it. I know that's kind of how we met. We go back to our emotional like I guess the scale of consciousness, and we have to look and feel into our body, where we're trying to work through all these different emotions that are coming up, whether they be ones from the past of shames or guilts and fears, and or we're grieving, potentially grieving some of these things that have happened over this last year, because it has been, I feel, for everyone, a lot of change. And I know that we're really feeling the effects of the major shifts that are happening right now with some of these big planets, but they're going to just continue. They're going to be even bigger for next year, because we're going to have a lot of outer planets so that are shifting into the air fire signs. So that Mars Saturn can just the Mars Pluto can just bring some really major dynamics. It can be volcanic. It's not to scare anyone, but if you're in a confrontation with someone, try to just know that it's an energy that's happening right now, and bring in some more emotional intelligence, I guess, to deal with it, and take a breath and walk away rather than engaging is probably the best scenario with that. As we, are all going to be feeling it collectively, because it is so dynamic. And then we're, even if you aren't experiencing anything too major in your own life, I think we're going to see some things collectively. So as we, head into our November 1st, of course, in the morning, in where I'm at in Canada, and later in the day where you are at in the UK, at 9 degrees and 35 minutes, we're going to have this new moon in Scorpio. And what that Scorpio energy brings, of course, is the intense and powerful, the one that is under the surface. It's our really strong desires. It can be very secretive. It can be very deep, and more of the detective and the one that wants to, research. And there can be with Scorpio too some power and control dynamics that want to come up, as well as though feeling that focus and really intuitive, watery, the deep ocean connection of truth beneath the surface, and finding ways to access that inner part of you that really wants to connect with their higher power or your real high intuition. And it's important to listen to those feelings that are in our gut, and seeing what kind of secrets might be coming up, or feelings, the healing that you need to in order, or just listening to your own intuition of what is the next step. So it can be just a very profound and powerful new moon. Of course, we're in that time of where whatever you celebrate, the veils being very thin, right, during the Halloween or the other different celebrations in the world, where people really know that they're maybe connecting to the other side and connecting to loved ones, getting feelings that we have the ability to almost be our own mediums as well. And so if there's tools that you want to use, automatic writing, or just the recording, what comes through for you. I find that's what's been really helpful, is just tracking, especially with the astrology, all the different transits, and then going back and reflecting on how those same themes come up, right? So I would allow yourself to tap into this sun and the moon in Scorpio, and really reflect on what intuitively you're being guided to. And then with that, and of course we look here, we see the sun and the moon at 9 degrees, right? And the chart, we're not looking at where the houses are placed or anything. It just shows up wherever it does with the location I put. So you will want to look at where the Scorpio house is in your chart for your birth time and place. And what the nice part about this is that you see the dynamics here of the Pluto Mars opposition. That's the intense energy I was speaking of, that somehow needs to be dealt with or integrated, or if you're in a major opposing situation, we'll have to see how you can go forward with Pluto moving into Aquarius, and the Mars will then go into Leo, which will be a lot, it's in a lot better position there as opposed to being in Cancer. And but there's a kind of a really nice beneficial energy, which is the Neptune at 27, the Mars at 29, and Mercury at 28 degrees, that's forming this water trine. So it really is nice because it'll soften that. And then of course, Uranus, it kind of almost forms a kite here, right, at 25 degrees. So that all these outer planets at these later degrees are bringing in this trine. And then you have the sextiles, like this is a mini grand trine. So there's lots of information out there where people are talking about all these energies that are involved in not at the same degree as the new moon, but in the collective, in the energy at the same time as this new moon. The new moon itself is in, like, is, as you see here in this trine to Saturn in Pisces. So that can help making those plans and those incremental energies. The square I was speaking of, if you see Saturn here at 12 degrees, that we have prior to the week here, prior to the, you know, kind of around the time we're recording, prior to the new moon, it was with Venus. So on the new moon itself, Venus has already moved forward quite a bit, but it's still within that 5 degrees. But it will help. It will still help because, you know, that Venus is going to then keep cruising along, and it'll oppose Jupiter, which those are the benefics, and that also is a very nice energy to help with what we'll be dealing with in this Pluto Mars opposition. So hopefully that isn't too astrology. But, you know, I guess it's sort of like a lot of astrology that is happening, and if you do have some questions, I'd be more than happy to help you, and the information will be below. And Gail, you have some stuff coming up too, where you're going to be actually in person, where you could pull cards in the UK if anyone's interested, right?
Yeah, so yeah, I'm going to be at the Mind Body Spirit show in Birmingham on the I think it's the 16th, 17th and 18th of November. So I don't know what the planets are doing that particular weekend. Is that another full moon weekend coming?
Yeah.
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 15th, I think the full moon is in the UK. So that's going to be a very interesting weekend, because that's just before we go with the Pluto, isn't it, in Aquarius? So yeah, I'm hoping that I will really, get to meet people again there, you know, older clients and new clients alike. It's a fantastic event, and I love doing the in person. And I do feel that, even like we've met a number of times, I think this last year, I feel like my astrology awareness has definitely improved. And just being with you and your technical terms, and Diana, just on not really understanding the most complex terms. You know, I'm quite familiar with the houses now, and it's been a brilliant journey. So I feel like, you know, there's probably a lot more that you could teach, you know, understanding the complex of the sextiles and the semi-sextiles. And as I was growing up, my mum was an astrologer, and I do wish that I'd listened a little bit more to what she was talking about, because a lot of it went really over my head. So I haven't studied astrology like you have, and I know you've done an intensive, and you're very you know very skilled at the level that you're learning at. So perhaps I need it simplifying again even more. And I know that a lot of the people following in my particular group, where there's quite a lot of novices, so it might be that you provide a course at some in some future time, as we move through this next couple of years, because this is definitely your destiny, isn't it?
I would say,
Yes.
yeah, without me knowing it is being that, well, my Gemini sun, Mercury wants me to communicate, but I have the Aquarius rising. And so that, of course, and I also have a lot of aspects in my chart to Uranus. Now, I'm actually watching that right now. There's something interesting coming up with that. I actually put the asteroid Diana in there because Laurie Lothian, she's also connected to Ren Butler, who wrote this book, The Archetypal Universe. So this is a really great book for those who just want to look at the different archetypes And Ren and I have grew up in the same hometown, so we have our families are extremely connected. And his brother and my uncle still hang out, actually. But Ren has invited me to study with him. So that's what I've been doing now. So that actually is interesting. It takes out the houses and the signs. You just study the archetypes of the planets and their connection of and how they're connected in aspect, such as the trine and a sextile. And because he studied under Richard Tarnas and Stan Groff, and went to Eslon when he was really young. He left our town where the other ones didn't. And he studied there for many years. So he's been in that world of the Groff breath work and the psychedelic training, or I guess it's therapies is what it is. And so, but they were looking at all the transits with therapies as well, with just planets. So it's a whole different perspective when you look at it from just the planets and the aspects they're making, because there's so many different house systems. There's so many different, I guess even the signs will change if you do Vedic or the sidereal kind of astrology. So looking at it from that perspective, you can keep it down to the simple archetypes. So if people are looking like combinations of planets together and the transits of those combinations, that book is wonderful. And we've been looking at a lot of musicians and their archetypal planetary makeups in their birth charts and how they express themselves in the videos and their music. And that's been really interesting. So I have had, it's a never ending learning, and you can take it in so many different directions. Foundationally, I did Heather, Astrology with Heather. She's great for foundational. And then I did my first, stars and cards with Deborah, and then Silverman, and I also, and Colette Bernley, and I also had taken the Deborah's course, which keeps it very, very simple too. And she's a psychotherapist, and she's witty, and I really enjoyed that. But I have had, a few different teachers. I follow Adam Allenboss too. So I bring in different things that I hear from them as well when I'm talking about this stuff. This is just so much to learn. So I'm on a continual learning path, but I absolutely can help. I just take if you want me to look at an aspect in your chart, a small donation of $8 minimum for this year, the 8-year. And if you want a full reading, it's $88 US for about 80 minutes, but we could dive into your chart and how these things are affecting you. And I also bring in the emotional empowerment, because I'm certified in that, and help you work through some of these transits are really difficult emotionally. And I think it's just really important that we all are dealing with our emotions and what's all coming up, because we're in a very significant time in our lives with shifting, and the shifts with this Pluto and Aquarius are going to be even faster, and we're going to just see the things just change in our world. We're just in this really fast and highly evolutional growth period of our consciousness. So I'm sure you're feeling that too, Gail, and can see the things happening and changing.
I'm really excited about the Pluto in Aquarius. I've never been so excited about any of the other transits, but this one's been particularly of interest for me. And maybe it's because my South Node's in Capricorn, and I've really felt, the depth of the Pluto in Capricorn, and I'm just excited to be moving. It feels like that, increasing that consciousness, and I feel like it's this awakening that we're all experiencing, that we, the frequency that we are finding ourselves in, you know, and the depth and the density is dropping away. That's how I feel. Um, and the innovation, you know, like what you're talking about, the Uranus and Aquarius. To me, it's like just seeing what new innovation is coming, you know, so that it's an exciting time.
Yeah,
I'm feeling
absolutely.
optimistic, and I'm not feeling so down as I think there's a lot of people getting a little bit, you know, worried about AI. And for me, I want to embrace it. I'm not going to get left behind. So yeah, bring it on.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I'm in the same boat as the Aquarius rising. The Pluto has been in my 12th house. And so now to be able to go back and tell the story of that and then study like these archetypes, I realized, oh my gosh, when my whole life crumble happened and more of the spiritual awakening happened compared to what my life I thought was, you know, as working in the industry and just doing the thing, you know, that I was used to in my environment. And I had that because I have Mars in Cancer. I had that opposition of Pluto opposing Mars, which is in the collective right now here in these signs. But yeah, I had that earlier because mine's at 10 degrees in my actual life. And so that's the thing. I mean, there's all these transits that happen in the sky, but how it actually affects our personal birth chart is different, right, for everyone. Like we may or may not feel them, but we may see it collectively or in our people surrounding us, depending on, you know, what points and angles and conjunctions and the way that the transits you know, hit your chart natally. So I can tell sometimes that, like, as Adam Alabas, when he uses the hashtag grabbed, when people get to do storytelling with them, and I'm really interested in the storytelling with these transits and how they can affect us in our real life. I say to my daughter, you know, you've been grabbed, you can, you know, and I have been too, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, yikes, like, wow, that was reactive. I didn't need to, but you know, then it goes away in a couple days and you look back and go, wow, oh, I see why it got me, because it was affecting an area of my chart. So that said, I'm happy to be past this axis of this Capricorn Cancer Pluto Mars, being that I actually had that in my own world, and it was a major. But coming out the other side of it with Pluto going in Aquarius, and this will be, I mean, I'll have a transformation of when it's your rising sign, it's your body, it's your first house, it's your actual role that you're playing out in the world, you know, besides your career. It's how other people perceive you, and it's that costume you wear. Like, it's just part of the big three. Your sun, you know, is your vitality and life force and life purpose. And yeah, I like to communicate, and of course Aquarius is also an air sign, so you know, it's all about the communication. But I'm not communicating about the things I was previously. It'll be obviously the astrology and anything to do with energy. I want to bring in, I also have a coaching in the energy for life, and want to bring in some more of those tools. I'm hoping that can happen. It's a bit of an investment, so I'm hoping that things can shift, and those tools can be brought in, as well as the empowerment, emotional empowerment consulting parts of using that. The astrology I use as a tool with it, right? And also, yes, the spirituality. So diving into this, you know, new moon in Scorpio, that's kind of what's been coming through. And it's interesting because I was tracking the asteroid Diana, because when I've been watching things, Lori Lothian, she brings in all the asteroids that's sitting right on this new moon. And I don't deal with the asteroids too much, but I'm, you know, I keep them in the awareness, but that's right on this new moon. So that'll be an interesting thing to see how that affects me. And what was wild about it was that my aunt, who I'm been watching their home, is traveling. She just sent me this week from a Roman museum, the goddess Diana, and a little plaque with it. So I was like, oh, that's kind of ironic energy, being that we're right in it right now with the sun and the moon there. So anyways, moving on to our new moon in Scorpio. This is just more of a reflective inner energy for us to pay attention to in what ways we really want our outer world to start to manifest. Maybe 6 months from now, when we're in the full moon energy and the culmination of it. But with the new moon, we set the intention, and with that, there's a lot of inner psychological archetypes that go along with the Scorpio, and a lot of desire and that power and that intensity and that intuitive psychic ability, and what it is that we want to change, and it's more of an inner place than, say, like what we had going on with the Libra and our outer world and our relationship. So with anything changing now, it's a real focus in this dark moon for us to really connect and decide how we want things to move on for us individually. So allow that, the powerful energies guide you, and write them down, and track what's happening also in the dreams with the water trine and the Neptune. If you have any profound dreams, it's important to look at those as well. So I think what we'll do is we'll dive into the signs now, and if you're ready, we can pull cards for each sign after I do a little blurb about where it's at. So we'll start at Aries, and for our Aries rising, you can also look at your sun and your moon. Often people have talked about the solar charts, which that's very important too. So we base this off the rising sign. So with it being the Aries rising, it's the 8th house. And of course, that 8th house is that psychological house, right? It's the places that we have that, the debt and the taxes and the mortgage, and it's part of the occult sciences. It's all to do with, it's that intimate house. It's been considered as the karmic debt house, who you're sort of entangled with. And of course, that is also about the that's why it's mortgages and debts and taxes and that sort of thing. And so we can look at, how it is, like, are you wanting to take incremental steps to pay down those mortgages, or get involved in the occult sciences, or deal with your past traumas and fears and the psychological aspects from that 8th house, and allow the real psychic intuitive part of you to guide you in that direction of how to do that, and then take those small incremental, make a plan, write things down of a plan of bring that Saturn in there of how you're going to be responsible for that. So, and so what card, or what do the goddesses want to tell us about the Aries rising? Oh, I think, yeah.
So yeah, let's see what came out. Oh, Pele. Oh gosh, yeah, Pele. So I don't know if you can hear me. She is the divine passion, And the message is, be honest with yourself. What is your heart's true desire? So that's kind of very scorpionic. It looks like the volcano is, really coming to a fruition here.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
but it's about divine passion, and I always feel, as a Scorpio, with that Scorpio on energy, it's very, yeah, it's about passion, isn't it? And intensity. There's an intensity definitely about, Scorpio energy, and
Oh, yeah.
and taboo as well. It's very taboo, isn't it? So that's interesting. But this is for the Virgo in that house, isn't it? That's where that will be um, for this new moon. We're working with the Virgo at the moment, aren't we? In this.
Oh, for the new moon, the Scorpio, what was in Virgo that you're thinking of?
Oh, sorry, we started with the Virgo. We're working with the Virgo at the moment, aren't we? Though,
Oh,
so
no, I did the Aries. I did the Aries
oh,
rising.
I'm sorry, I keep getting confused with Aries and Virgo. I did that in my video, so
Oh,
yeah,
did you? Oh, yeah, you're
I've got a
still
bit
in
of
the
a
Virgo.
yeah. This is Aries. So thank
Yeah,
you.
Aries. Yeah,
Yeah,
but you know what's wild about that is
no,
like if you're doing they're showing the volcano there. That's how this energy of the Pluto Mars is described as well. Is it can be very volcanic. It can erupt things from underneath, from below, and Aries is ruled by Mars, right?
yes.
So the Aries may feel this a little more intensely because their ruler is in that opposition to Pluto. So wherever that um, you know is in your chart, or how it's hitting your point. So that, and you're right, like the key words there for the desire and the passion and the intensity and the taboo, and that's all very scorpionic, right? So
Mm.
yeah, I find that very, very fitting for sure. So yeah, so that was our Aries rising and the eighth house, and looking at where that new moon is happening for you, as well as you'll want to look at where the grand water trine is. So
Mm.
your Pisces and Cancer houses are involved there too.
Mm.
So we'll move on now to the Taurus, a Taurus rising, sun or moon. And for the Tauruses, it's in the seventh house. So if we look here, if we say if we had Taurus on the first house, the rising, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's, of course, the opposite from the Scorpio. It's their opposition. It's their seventh house of relationships and others. And with that, could there have been some things that are coming up in your relationships and your one-on-one contracts, and how you're being affected with having more of a deeper, intimate conversation to make that um, you know Scorpio new moon work for you effectively, about your intimate levels and your loyalty in that relationship, and the partnerships that you're in, and the changes, and potentially can be very healing as well with that, and finding that deeper connection, and working through some things that you really want and desire in your relationship as well. What are you craving? So it's sending that intention of finding that place of in your relationship to go to another deeper level, and help you feel safe. Everyone, that's the big thing with all the change in this world is everyone's really, I find, in their dynamic looking for those safe relationships and safe places within as well. And are you looking for connection with someone, or are you in a married relationship that you want to take it to a different level and have those conversations? Just be careful of the Pluto Mars and any blowouts that might occur in those relationships. You want to just be, mindful of how you're approaching things. So yeah, so what does the goddess have to tell us about the Taurus rising?
Let's see what comes out. And so it's interesting. This is very grounded. This is Mawu. How do you say Mawu? Mother Earth. So the message is you're called upon to help with environmentalism. So that's the groundedness, isn't it, for Taurus?
Yeah, really connecting.
Yeah.
Really connecting with the earth, like that. That's the, honestly, right there is the archetypal goddess signature of the Taurus house, the Mother Earth, right? Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And is there water in the background there too?
Yeah, there is,
Yeah.
isn't there? Yeah. The ocean, looks like the ocean.
So yeah, maybe finding ways to connect with nature in order to really dive into the Scorpio new moon, to see what comes up for you and what you want to manifest in the tangible earthly realm for this next 6 months, and in those relationships that you are in with Mother Earth, as well as relationships in the dynamics of your life too, right?
Yeah, and what comes to mind for me is that safety. You mentioned a little bit about safety, and I had a conversation with a friend today, and she was saying, her young son is really struggling, and he's feeling everything so acutely, and actually he's going to go and work as as a tree. He wants to do tree surgeon, and that will really help him energetically to manage all the energies that he's overwhelmed with, because he's not getting outside enough. And so that reminded me of forest bathing, how we can get really grounded when we are in nature, and that's really healing for the energetic system that we're maybe finding a little bit frenetic with the busyness and the satellites and everything that's so fast these days.
Yeah, and looking at Uranus and Taurus, and you talking frenetic, like that is, it has been shaking up our Earth in such profound ways. I mean, not only is the Pluto kind of crumbling all those old traditional structures and beliefs, and all those institutes and big corporate, big money, big business, and all the ways that everybody always did things, but Uranus and Taurus is also, messing with the way that we have done things in our earthly, tangible assets too, as well. And, I've really felt this one big time. It's shaken some things up, because that's a fourth house there for me. But I can see why it's so important for anybody that has that Taurus in their chart, to really connect with the earth. This lovely lady that I'm following is taking people on nature walks.
Yes.
And she's really helping people connect with their spiritual side and doing some really great, amazing work. And Devin Doer is her name, and she's on this, just doing a bit of a challenge for herself, taking everyone on these nature walks and looking for the signs and the symbols in nature.
Yes.
And it's amazing how many you get when you really start to pay attention. For me, I've had ladybugs showing up continuously in the last month or two. So yeah. Wow. So really look at that. So we'll move on to Gemini, and the Gemini has this happening, of course, in their 6th house. And so that's the house of your daily routines and your work and your place of servitude. It sometimes is, you know, more of a tougher house, and it can be, you know, health related as well. So for those of you that are, you know, in this Scorpio new moon and have that happening in your sixth house, it's sort of like, you know, what are you craving in your day-to-day work, in your day-to-day routines, or how can you change up something that will be beneficial for you? It could even be, you know, what your desire in a job, but it also could be what it is that you want to change and help with your health and what you're feeling in your body and your state of health in your day-to-day reality. And potentially there could be something that brings in some, you know, healing opportunities here for you with that Scorpio, especially if you start to do some of the emotional work and start, you know, the work that we do is through the Power versus Force by Dr. David Hawkins emotional scale, right? And working through each transition is important, one at a time, step by step, you know, because we can't just go from all our junk underneath the surface in that Scorpio energy to like, you know, a place of enlightenment, right? You know, it's a process when we're doing that, you know, emotional work. And it's also, so you might be at a crossroads of like what you want to do in your day-to-day life and work. You might feel like the Gemini risings might be like, you know what, I'm just not feeling that this is the place for me in my you know, your place of duty and servitude, and how you're, you know, our jobs and our day-to-day routine in life, and what we have to do is to, you know, to make money, make a living, and also look after our bodies and our health and stuff day to day is takes a lot of time and energy and effort. You know, it's the sixth house is that house of effort. Where are you efforting? And you know, where is it that you want to find you know, good health, and with good health also has you working through those emotional layers, because it's not just about taking a bunch of supplements and doing you know, physical exercise, as you know, or anything we want to do, even in our job. Like nothing will sustain itself until you work through those underlying emotions that are stored in your nervous system. And Gail, I know you know about all of that very well, that kind of work. And you know, going through the motions of working through this stuff we have to do in order for anything to sustain itself. So what does our goddesses have to tell us about that?
Yeah, let's see what wants to be revealed. Looks like Isis. That's an interesting energy. She's coming in with the words past life, and this situation involves your past life memories. So yeah, I'm not sure how we link that one with the day-to-day activities, you know, like you say.
Well, I mean,
Servitude.
yeah, well, with the Scorpio energy, maybe you're to connect with your ancestors, right? Maybe you're to connect with the past life. Maybe you're wanting to like feel like you have messages that can come through that can give you guidance of what it is you are supposed to be doing here on a day-to-day to be of service and to help you heal, and how you want to change those daily routines and habits. You know, maybe you're letting go of a habit that you felt like was something that is no longer serving you, and was, you know, something that you felt like you needed to lean on previously. And you know, your guides and ancestors and your past life stuff wants to come to surface now and change the trajectory of what you do in your day-to-day life. job or health wise, or with the people you surround yourself, and the ways that you are of service to others. That's just what comes up for me. So
yeah, very interesting. Yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it? And like you say, getting to the root cause is, when you're doing that empowerment and the emotion, clearing the emotions, then a lot of this, there can be things that are rooted in our past lives, if we believe in that too. So yeah, it goes quite deep, doesn't it? So I think that's such an interesting concept to really, we could go much deeper back in the Scorpio energy.
Yes, we could dive into that, and what wants to show up in our lineage, and with that healing work of dealing with the Groff, or any kind of healing work or psychedelics that people, and I'm not even one who's even done either of those, but it can allow you anything. When you're connecting with breath, you're connecting with that inner part of you, which then comes from that lineage. So it's amazing what our energies carry forward in our cellular level. And it's, people are starting to become aware of that type of, I guess, more quantum medicine, as opposed to just, the stuff that we've seen previously. And we're able to measure some of these energies, and able to see what we can actually shift, and what needs to be shifted and changed in us from what we talk about, and that is from womb. It's amazing to learn about what energies are carried forward in womb, but that's another whole subject.
Yes.
So moving on to our Cancer rising, Cancer sun and moon. It's in the 5th house that this Scorpio new moon is coming forward. So where is it that you are wanting to connect with that passion, that creative spark? This is also the house of children, and there's potentially some sort of crossroads or something that's happening that you want to bring in, a new beginning with that child, like the creative child, like your creative project. And or could it be with the intimacy of the Scorpio, could it be you creating a child, like, for those who are still in their childbearing years, like potentially there's some diving kind of deep into that, and whether or not you are going to have children, there's that romance also in the 5th house, starting an intimate relationship with someone, and at a more playful level, as opposed to like the marriage house, the 7th house relationship. When you're in the 5th house energy, there just could be a lot of things that kind of come through that allow you to tap into that water trine and some creative aspects of you, and then taking the action steps forward, and something that you're in your heart's desire and your yearning, and that Scorpio sort of energy wants to bring in. Or maybe it's something even in a whole nother pleasure way, with that intimacy and sex being related to the Scorpio energy. Maybe there's something that wants to be shifted and changed. But the 5th house is, of course, such a fun energy, and it's Scorpio new moon would be a really great time to set the intentions too, for what the childlike energy is within you, or what you want for your children, and then what you want to bring in as a creative experience, or you know, a playful, intimate partner too. So you know, sit with this new moon and see what passions arrive from deep in the Scorpio energy, with what brings you pleasure and joy and all the fun things. So the goddess, or Cancer rising.
Yes, so this is interesting. I've got Aphrodite.
Oh,
She's the inner goddess, and awaken the goddess within you through dance, self-care, and appreciation of your divinity, appreciating your divinity. So that's
oh
a very
yeah,
sensual element, which is the fun and the dancing and the, like you say, much more playful energy. So that's
yeah,
perfect.
yeah, absolutely perfect. Yeah. So find your Aphrodite goddess and bring her out. Put on something beautiful and let your
Yeah.
light shine. Yeah,
Let's dance.
let's dance. Yeah, sounds good.
Cool.
Okay, so we are going to move on now to the Leo risings, and that will have this Scorpio new moon in the fourth house. So, of course, that's the bottom of the chart where we retreat, our home, our private life, our home and family and property, and that place where we get to go and feel, you know, comfortable after a day out in the world, and our safe place. And it's that, yeah, most private part of the chart typically. And so what is it that you want to bring into that um, you know, place from that Scorpio energy? And you know, could it be even diving in psychologically to what we were speaking of earlier, our roots, our home, our family lineage, and some of the ancestors, or connecting with some of the ancestors too, um, uh, at at a more you know, intuitive level. And it is just, what is it at home, in that safe place, where what you want to feel, um, you know, that that place of comfort and desire. You know, where do you desire to live and go and retreat at the end of the day? You know, maybe you're looking at a new home. Maybe you're doing some research into where it is that you want to live next, and you know, finding those that place where you're all of a sudden like, you know what, I don't know if I really want to be here anymore. And I think I think we had that conversation earlier, that that you know, that's been coming up. And so, you know, depending on where that Leo house is in your own chart, but this is looking at maybe breaking some of those old karmic patterns too from the family, you know, lineage, and allowing sort of, I guess, all those places where you want to, you know, transform your home and your place and your karmic ties to that, to the family home and roots. Those are some of the things that are coming up. There might be something, well, I mean, you have to watch this dynamic here too, of the Pluto Mars, and you know, could something blow up at home, and you have to then start to dive in and look at where you can bring in some healing into your home too, as well. So yeah, what do you have for a card for us Leos, the Leo risings?
Oh, that's interesting. Mother Mary has showed up here, and the message is expect a miracle. Have faith that your prayers have been heard and are being answered. So, and she's got the baby in her arms.
Oh wow. Well, maybe there's some little sexy time going on at home with that Scorpio energy, and there's babies coming into the home too. I guess that's another way to look at it, right? Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, home.
Yeah.
Yeah. Prayers and home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just connecting to that, yeah, that mother energy, that Mother Mary, that's part of, you know, the family
Yeah.
part of the chart. And
Brilliant.
yeah, so yeah, so we'll move on to the Virgos. And the Virgo, of course, if this was in the first house, then the Scorpio new moon is in our third house for the Virgo rising. And you can also, the Virgo sun and moon can look at this as well. And so that third house is basically like your house that has several meanings, but it's that community house. It's your neighborhood, it's your neighbors, it's your closest proximity to you know, extended relatives such as your siblings and your, you know, aunts, uncles, and like as Adam Ellenboss says, the fishbowl in which you swim, right? he yeah, he refers to it as that because it's all that, you know, what you're kind of, who's in and around you in your environment. And it also is to do with, it's the communication house. It's our, you know, early childhood home. It or I guess our early childhood development and education, and but mostly just sort of like, who is it that you want to connect with in community, like day to day. And also to do with, you know, that communication style of like, of how you're going to connect with people, like social media or, you know, podcasts or writing or that sort of thing. So, you know, is there now some sort of crossroads that you're at with the community that you're in, or you need to, you know, dive into some really deep, meaningful conversations, or you know, where is there some sort of maybe feeling like there's a dynamic in your neighborhood or with you know, siblings or with neighbors and such, that you need to have a conversation with. And, you know, hopefully there isn't some sort of a blowout with that, but it's just kind of deciding where you really really want to spend, I guess, your time in community, and how you want to spend that time there. So and connecting, like writing down how you want to communicate with the people in your community, because your community can be online as well too, right? So what does the goddesses want to tell us then?
Let's have a look. She says, Una, easy does it. So she said there's no need to hurry or force things to happen. Everything is occurring in perfect timing. So that's interesting, if that's your communication.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe it's you know, with bringing in the Saturn, maybe it's a step-by-step plan, as far as, you know, how you want to start to communicate or what you want to communicate out in the world, as you you know, are looking at some things, other things changing in and around you, right? So there might be that aspect that comes up as well. So okay, so we're going to move on now to our Libra rising. And the Libra rising have the Scorpio new moon in their second house. So the house of our resources and our assets, and you know, where we make money, and our you know, property, and that kind of place where I guess we can find ways to make money. So maybe you're looking at diving into what you're going to do with these assets that you've accumulated, or you know, potentially how are you going to manifest making more money, and what it is that you need to change in order to bring in something, more material possessions? Or is there these material possessions and the ways that you've been earning money, something that's at a crossroads, and now you're looking at, wow, how can I change what I do in my work, or how can I grow my assets, or what is it that I need to do to build more? So if you want to see what the goddesses have to tell us about our earnings, money, resources, assets, material possessions.
Interesting. I've got a bast, independence. So that's interesting. Independent. Yeah, the message is your independence is a foundation for your strength and success. So that's about your, is that about your possessions? Yes.
Well, I'm just wondering if it has something to do with, because we have this North Node, right? We have this North Node in Aries, and that is also like the ruler of this Scorpio new moon is Mars. And Mars also rules Aries. We have our North Node there, and this North Node really wants us to put in the efforts towards what we want independently. It's about the individual. It's not like if you've been living your life continuously for others. I'm sure that in this last sort of 18 months of these, polarizing Aries, Libra houses where the nodes have been traveling, it doesn't mean to say you have them in your own chart. If you have them in your own chart, you're really getting it. But it wants us to find our autonomy and our places where we can be sovereign, and how we can individually and independently contribute to the world for who we are uniquely. And so there might be something that in order to build your material possessions or your assets and resources and how you make money in the world, it wants us to look at who we are uniquely and authentically ourselves, and put those creative things out, like sit with that Scorpio and just feel into it and what you really desire, like yourself independently. Never mind looking after everyone else and what they want you to do. What is it that you want? And truly take steps towards doing that in this next 6 months, and see if what can set the plan in motion, right? Even if it's little baby steps, and you're still in your day-to-day job, and you're still being the mother or father or caregiver, or however it is that you spend your life, or at least taking those little steps towards what it is that is your authentic true self. Yeah, so that's just kind of what came up for me with that card. Beautiful. Yeah,
thank you for that really is enlightening, the way you shared that there. So yeah, thank you.
Okay, wow, good. Now we get to dive into Scorpio, who has this new moon in their first house. Their first house is who you are. It is all about you, your body, and your role that you play, and how others see you out in the world. And this is your new moon. So a reset of you, or maybe you're at this particular crossroads of who you are, or how you're treating your body, or what you're doing on a day-to-day level to look after you and look after your own body. And maybe you're now just needing that time to sit with things and look at how your health and what you're passionate about and what you want to do every single day to bring into your reality over this next 6 months. in the role that you play and how others see you in the world. And so if you are in and around this 9 degrees, you're really going to feel this Scorpio new moon, and the changes that you want to bring in that that are lasting. So what do the goddesses have to say?
Hey, what's coming out here? Oh, this one. Guinevere, true love. So that's kind of interesting. Yeah, the love card.
It is, because was just looking at like, where does this land for Saturn? Of course, it's the 5th house, right?
Yes.
So that's that's the playful house, and so how is it that you want to be different, you yourself, and take those little action steps, because even that role you play out in the world, well, you play a different role if you're single as opposed to in a relationship, right? But maybe you're looking for a playful romantic partner, or taking the steps for that creative project, or taking the steps to prepare for starting a family, or whatever it is that you want to bring in, that's going to allow more joy and more pleasure, the Scorpio and what they desire, right? So that
it makes me feel like the first house is about self-love as well, as we love ourselves, that reflection, this is all part of our relationship with ourselves is important first, isn't it? So
yes,
kind of feels like this stirring in us first needs to, we need to evolve so that we can expand into the other. So it's
diving into your inner power, and like this could be very potent and intense, this new moon, because it's you, right? It's happening for you, especially when your degrees are right around where it is at 9. So we'll now move on to the Sagittarius, which is going to experience this Scorpio new moon in their 12th house, the hidden house, the house of the unconscious, the house of that you go to retreat, or you dive into something spiritual, or maybe you've been dealing with being somewhere hidden away from the world, whatever that is, and where it is that you want to go hide away from the world a little bit too, potentially, to retreat within, so that you can follow your greatest passions and desires and what it is that you want, in that. And of course, with the Saturn, taking those step-by-step actions so that you can bring in sort of that, if you're at some sort of crossroads, so you can allow yourself to unconsciously discover and unwind, and bring some more of that dreaming things, or things like you may have profound dreams that are guiding you in some way, and that doing that deep inner spiritual work and allowing some of the unconscious to unravel. So I would say it's just a really great energy to dive into, and allow the dreams to, and that intuition to come to the surface and shine some light on it. And so it'll allow you to go to that hidden house, so then you can step more into your you and the role you're to play out in the world. So the 12th house, Sagittarius, what did you bring up for that, Gail?
I've got Ishalt here, undying love, and the love that you have shared is eternal regardless of this situation.
Oh, okay. So interesting.
Is this the unconscious house? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what do you feel? I mean, I know we're not there yet, but what do you kind of feel for you as, because you have, I talked a little bit about, not like we want to talk about ourselves, but it's just nice sometimes to connect a real life story as a Sag rising. You know, what you may feel is coming up for you a little bit that potentially could surface with the new moon. Oh, you're on mute. You're muted.
Yeah, sorry. To me, I feel like this, this, Sagittarius is very much about philosophy, isn't it? It's about, the cult, it's about the deeper parts of ourselves. So
finding the truth. Yeah.
yeah, this undying love, and the 12th house is the undoing, isn't it? So psychologically, the undoing of our wounds, perhaps, for me, healing with my wounded Chiron, my Chiron, I should say, my wounded healer. So I feel like this is kind of all linked to that, and for me, working on my inner child, this has been a big process of most of this lifetime. And so yeah, where can we bring more love? Where can we bring this compassion? And this is where we're going to be heading as we move through the next 20 years. It's all about bringing this love further into this oneness and this connection. I think it's all part of the consciousness that we're moving towards, isn't it?
Yeah, and doing the deep inner work here to release some of these old repeating cycles and patterns that are from this lifetime and that lifetime before as well, and sort of cutting the cords to the things that you have been learning the lessons about.
Yes.
From that 12th house. So Capricorn risings, you will experience the Scorpio new moon in your 11th house, which is the house of our kind of our tribe, our allies, our network, our groups of people, the connectedness that we feel in our community. It's actually really a nice house. It also is connected to the hopes, wishes, and dreams. So, being able to sit with this Capricorn, new moon this Scorpio new moon, and allow, some of the insights to come through that of who it is, like, that you can connect with. Who's that network of people, of allies or benefactors in your life who can take you to that next opportunity, and who is it that you want in your network of people and your tribe per se, in the groups and the all the people that you want to bring in all the hopes, wishes, and dreams that you had planned for that maybe haven't happened yet, right? That can allow you to get what you desire with that Scorpio moon.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know who I want to come out.
Yeah, we'll see.
She's called Diana. Is this going to be Diana? Oh, it's Aphrodite. I want Diana on my team, and I've got Aphrodite in the team team player.
Wow, that's so funny. Wow.
Inner goddess. Awaken. There she is again, the goddess within. And so that you can dance, self-care, appreciating your divinity. So that's the team player.
Yeah. Oh, very cool. Yeah, like I mentioned, we were talking about how Diana is with this particular new moon in Scorpio.
Yeah.
And for those who don't know, Aphrodite and Diana, the goddess of the hunt, are one and the same, essentially, right?
Ah, okay. Have we got one more to do? Because I was thinking Diana's got to come out. She's got to come.
Yeah.
In,
Yeah. So we actually have the Aquarius rising next.
yeah,
Yeah. And the Aquarius rising will have this in their 10th house.
right. Yeah.
So yeah. So where is it that you're going to have these, career or your public reputation, how you're seen out in the world, even if you aren't working anymore, or however it is that you're seen out in the world publicly, and what kind of crossroads are you at in this moment, and what it is that this the Scorpio, the power and the intensity of that Scorpio that's in your 10th house, how you want to channel that to find your passions, to then be able to bring in the work, career, and the public sort of reputation that you want to leave for legacy in this world. Like, and how are you wanting to position yourself in a leadership or power of authority, and be seen as we shift into the a new career, really, essentially, is the. And I feel that I'm an Aquarius rising, and I am 100% in that, and I keep being pushed into this direction, and I have wanted to go back for sure. So but I had, whatever work comes through seems to be something that's short term, because then I get pushed back in, right? So it's just, the eclipse was the actual date of the end of my seasonal work. And so that partnership connection, I mean, it was fun. It was super fun, is gone. But now, okay, what are the next steps for this next part of my life in the career path, and how I'm seen out in the world? And it's also connected to my home life too. I get that. So what does the goddesses want to tell everyone, though, who is dealing with a career crossroads right now, Aquarius risings?
It was true love again. Oh, we've got to repeat twice.
True love.
True love,
Well,
Guinevere. So loving yourself in the career path.
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
true
Yeah,
love.
finding your true love and what it is that you want to do out in the world. And I guess that's the whole thing about this new moon, is
Yeah.
that whatever it is that we have the desire to do, and wherever it is that we're feeling this need to dive into, we have to feel it passionately. Like Scorpio energy has to have that passion there, or it's just not going to work. And so, like, I know that just from seeing that Scorpio energy in my daughter, she has to have passion in whatever she does, because that's where her Mars is, right? Where when I was mentioning, when you have like Mars in Cancer, you have to be able to. It's different. It's not about like that passion. It's about feeling like you want to do it, and you have to be, you have to feel good in order to take that action, or it has to feel safe, or the way you approach things it's not, it's kind of a indirectly, or you're other than that, you are sometimes in that fight for what it is you want for your home and family type thing. But it's really finding that intense passion for what it is that you want to do, and sitting with this Scorpio new moon in your 10th house of career, and when you're at this crossroads, allowing that write down what's happening in the dreams and try to interpret that a little bit, or just diving deep into how it is that when you see yourself, like what legacy you want to leave. And I know for me, it definitely, when I look at what's connected to Scorpio and the type of work that comes up for career, I had some of that previously, and in a different way, and now I want that to move into more of, I guess, the psychological parts of the Scorpio, and the emotional, working through the psychology of the emotions, as well as, this kind of deep dive work with the archetypes and how they express, and using the tool of astrology to help people, in that deep emotional work. So that's how I foresee it. But if people aren't sure about what it is, that the Scorpio represents, there's a great list. I don't have it here right in front of me of what that represents in career as well, right? Not just all the keyword kind of significations, but are you a investigative research with like a Mercury Scorpio, and
Yes.
diving into those kinds of things, like going underneath like pipes and plumbing and oil field work, because I did that in my past, and also like it's interesting to see how they all connect. So
Brilliant.
we have one more. Our Pisces have the 9th house Scorpio new moon, and what it is, I guess that 9th house, of course, is connected to your belief systems, and it's a spiritual house. It's connected to religion, or any kind of higher education, or sometimes even the legal setting, and adventure and travel and foreign cultures and foreign lands. So what is it from the Scorpio new moon that you're kind of wanting to dive into, that maybe it's planning a new adventure, maybe it's a different complete paradigm shift, maybe it's a whole different belief or set of values, maybe it is to do with some sort of a legal agreement that you no longer feel you want to be part of. Maybe you're just ready to like get rid of some sort of a higher educational pursuit for something else. So I'm interested, or maybe you're looking at like what kind of a adventure, travel, vacation you could go on, right? And doing all the research it takes, because when you're going on those big trips, it takes a lot of research to figure out what it is, and make it all happen, right? So
okay, who have we got now?
Pisces.
We've got Nematona, sacred space. So creating an altar or visiting a power place, to connect with the divinity, with the divine. So that's very connected to the culture and the philosophy and spirituality, isn't it?
Philosophy and higher wisdom, and absolutely. And that 9th house of spirituality. So maybe you can take some time in the Scorpio new moon and create your altar that you're gonna be able to spend time at, and do some of your moon rituals going forward, and that kind of thing too. That could potentially be an option.
And I'm feeling called to go on retreat next year with a friend, with a few friends, a few women. I'm going to walk the I always call it Camargue, but it's not called the Camargue in Spain.
Oh, is that that's what I think? That Lillian had talked about, the El Camino, they call it.
Yes, right, the Camino. I call it, yes.
So,
that could be.
I don't know much about that. That sounds amazing.
It takes about, I think, you can walk it in 30 days, or you can work it in less than that if you want to walk the whole of it.
Yeah,
So yeah, that's retreat.
that is, yeah,
Yeah,
definitely something that
pilgrimage.
the pilgrimage, yes,
Yeah,
very cool. Yeah, that's all very very interesting. So
thank you.
I guess in closing, our Mars opposite Pluto, this is at an anaretic degree. It's a culminating point. We're gonna see some shifts in the, I mean, the world is going to feel something with this, definitely. It's a culminating point, but it's a matter of allowing ourselves to, you know, just take a breath and know that it's all for the good and the evolution that we need to feel, and allowing yourself that time to just go into that inner Scorpio world and sit in the water trine and allow things to come through of what you really want. You know, we're not going to be able to change the other people around us, right? We have to do what it is that we desire. And, you know, if something's done, it's done. And if something new wants to come in, and you're just making the initial plans, but other than that, life is good, then just little incremental steps towards doing that, right? So, and you know, we can't downplay the fact that there's a pretty dynamic situation with this, you know, coming in on the 3rd of November, but it is a passing energy and it will allow the shifts. And then as we go into the middle of November to our next moon, the next lunation cycle, then we're going to have that full on Pluto and Aquarius. And it'll be interesting. You know, it's such a slow moving energy. So we've been feeling the shifts of that happening over time here. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see if we, you know, see any instant sort of like changes that, you know, come about, whether it be in our you know, the institutes or the governments or the health systems, or, you know, the big kind of corporate stuff. And then we get to play that out for the next, you know, 20 years. So, but really stepping into what it is we're passionate about is, and like Pluto and Aquarius, on the bigger picture, is for us to do that. It's not, you know, it wants us to be authentic and outside the box a little bit, or, you know, bring in our independent sort of uniqueness, our inner weirdo. Get to be. I have no problem with that, clearly. But yeah, but I was, you know, come from a pretty conservative, I guess, if you want to use that word, background, traditional background. And I think people have realized that that's not my path. So everyone's adjusting. And so, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll
A
see
little
what
wacky.
happens.
Yeah, a little
Yeah.
wacky and a little innovative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's hard because, you know, you're sitting here and you're like doing, you know, connecting with different people that are sort of more advanced in their learning and growing and evolving and changing, and then you're like looking around you going, oh geez, people, like, if you only knew what I know in my head, and if I could only like get you to speed it up a little here, right, and let go of some of those old ways of being. It's not going to work anymore. I'm just saying, not going to work. The old ways of being. We all do have to be a little bit more innovative for sure. So you might as well do what you're passionate about it with all that, you know, changing, rather than trying to stay stuck in that, you know, the traditions, right?
Yes.
We're moving on from the older traditions that were brought in from, you know, some religions that may not, you know, work for people anymore, or some patriarchal ways that may not work for people anymore. And, you know, we're getting more into balance with masculine, feminine energy, and what we put out in the world, and our roles, the gender roles, and and the fluidity with that as well. So yeah, it's interesting to, we'll see how it all comes together. So yeah, if you guys want to connect with Gail, we can, so I'll put the links below, and if you want to send me any places you're going to be actually in person in the UK too, Gail, and but you're on Facebook and YouTube as Relax and Shine, correct?
Yeah, and Instagram, yes, I think.
And Instagram,
yeah,
and and I am Out Amongst the Stars, and yeah, I'll put my $8 and $88 offers below, and right now, yeah, just connecting through the links under the chat will work for us, and we'll continue to keep trying to meet up and do these. I love having the conversation with it. I love having the oracle. I love having you pull the cards with it. They always seem to connect in some very interesting ways, and then more stuff comes through. And I love doing the podcast style. So if anybody else is interested, I'm always up for that too. So it's just way more fun for sure. So.
Thank you. It's been great. I feel like I learn something every time we meet, and it's fascinating. Thank you so much for bringing your wisdom and your your vocal capacity to be able to share it. So yeah, so we can understand it. Thank you again, and yeah, till next time.
Yeah. Thank you, and everybody, don't forget to track where it is that you're seeing these things play out, because of course then the culminating point at the full moon, you'll be able to see when you've spent that time setting this intention in this Scorpio new moon, and write out your 10 intentions. Sometimes it's nice to do it even as the light starts to come through with the moon, because we are in the dark moon, but you can see what comes through in the dreams, and then get things, little plans in place. So, and we'd love it if you would like and send us your comments and subscribe, so when things come through, we'll be able to reach you, and we thank you all for being here. Happy new moon in Scorpio. Bye everyone.
Bye bye.